So with the mid-season 9 update here, the RC... No. So with the RC update coming mid-season 9, guys, we also did end up getting a new playlist with this, and I kind of wanted to give you guys my review on this one, as I have been doing this the past few updates and all that here in Motorfest. So give you guys my honest thoughts on the entire new playlist, as this is basically the brand new piece of, everything that people are looking for, and also this one is paid on top of that. So I'm sure people might want to know if it is good, is it worth it? If I buy this separately, is it worth it and all that stuff. So I will go over all of that here. But I gotta admit though, guys, this one will have around 10 events for one. It also will have 25 challenges. Stay tuned for that video tomorrow, by the way. And then we'll also have rivals coming back again. Now, I have to admit something right off the bat here. Unfortunately, bro, the rivals are the same as the other playlists we got in Season 9. So they will be the stunt style, which, to be real, is super unfortunate, guys. I'm not going to lie there. I was pretty upset when I saw this. I was like, man, I was hoping we get more races. Dude, I don't want to do these types of events. And I don't really think anybody does, if I'm being honest on that one. But yeah, we do end up having the scoring thing back again, which I would say is kind of a big L in my opinion, having that in this playlist again. I don't know, it feels kind of lazy to me putting this in there because all of the rivals are basically the exact same thing. And before I continue on this, I do want to mention again, thank you Ubisoft for giving me early access to the mid-season 9 update. I really do appreciate it. But I gotta say though, guys, I wasn't really expecting them to use these style of events again for the rivals. I was really hoping for races. The reason for that is I thought it'd maybe be, one or two of these types of events, but instead there is once again around 11 of them. So there is a lot of these rival events similar to the previous playlist that we all did do, which is the NASCAR one. And they kind of just took that and threw these in here. Now, obviously, some of them are different. Like, you have to do a front flip or reach 90 miles an hour, do a backflip, hit some of the targets and all that stuff, grind on some of them. They're all kind of straightforward. I don't really hate them, but to be honest, I kind of do, because once I would do them all, I would literally never touch these events again. Like, if they were races, I would probably go back in and mess around a lot more, because 11 more races could be super beneficial to this game. So, I gotta say it, I kind of started this off a little backwards talking about the rivals, but then again, though, I feel like a lot of people might end up feeling similar. I really do think the rivals are honestly kind of a huge L, and I would not recommend doing these, or if you do them, you probably won't want to do them again. Besides that, though, you'll end up having the other 10 events that are also in there, guys. And I gotta admit, the 10 events are a lot better than the rival events are. I enjoyed these way more. Some of the events you guys will see, like the one you will see right now in the background, is basically on like a cargo ship, and you're pretty much racing around an obstacle course. This is cool. This is something I want to see. This was actually a pretty fun event. There's different jumps you can do. Obviously, the game teaches you how to jump these, if you guys are wondering. So, yeah, that's something to think about there. But you can take like different routes and all that stuff in some of these events, which is pretty dope. The next one after that was kind of a mixed, where you had to use a monster truck and then switch over to an RC vehicle and do like an obstacle course. And I had to say it, can we get more monster truck events like this, bro? It was actually pretty fun having a mild obstacle course with a monster truck again. Considering these have literally no events whatsoever, this was actually kind of nice to finally see part of the monster truck being useful somewhere, if you know what I'm saying. Besides that, though, you obviously have some other races you can do with the RC cars that are, again, obstacle courses. You have the things coming down like you would see in Demolition Derby. There's jumps and different things you'd end up seeing in a lot of the events here. But some of the events in the entire playlist here, guys, I would say these are actually some of my favorites. The first one right now you will end up noticing is basically a small circular track, but it's the overhead view of you racing your RC car. And this would probably make a lot more sense because obviously the RC car is smaller, and these events I actually found to be pretty dang fun, and they were some of my favorites in the entire playlist. There's actually a few of these as well, guys, which I found was pretty dope. So the other one's kind of like an off-road course. There'll be like a little jump there and all that. And then there's also another street one, which I'll show you guys this one first here, which is kind of like a little bit different than the circular. There's a few turns there, which I was kind of crashing a good amount trying to stay in this because I was trying to figure out how to steer the RC car a little bit. And once I figured it out, it was pretty easy to do, kind of just, realizing how to steer it. You can run it into the wall kind of easy. But I found these events to be pretty cool. This one particularly on the other road course was a bit better than the circular one, as there was at least a few turns in there. But the other one I did like a lot was easily the off-road one. This one actually had multiple different corners in it, a jump and stuff. This one was honestly a lot more funny. You kind of had to follow it with the camera a little bit more, which I kind of enjoyed that. To be real, I kind of wish the other races were a little bit longer, like how this one was, as I feel like following the main like camera view of your vehicle while having a bigger race, at least to me, did feel a lot better than having a tiny race where you just sit there and watch it go around in a circle. And then, of course, on top of that, you will also find yourself with some new off-road events. And I gotta say, these off-road events were actually pretty dope. I love seeing other off-road races finally being used in the game because there is not much of any of them. It is still kind of wild to me that we are basically in year 3 of this game, heading to a full year 3, which will obviously be in September. And we still have 6 rallycross races, man. How is that even possible? Then again, Maui is basically fully empty. There's tons of roads there, but I'm not going to go into all of that again. But I got to admit, the off-road races in this playlist were actually pretty dope. I did enjoy both of them, guys. The one you'll see in the background is with one of the off-road, RC cars because you kind of have to use it. But you kind of drive all over the mountains in Oahu, and I would say a lot of this course was actually pretty dope. I did like how it had it set up, and it was kind of unique in a lot of ways, which is something I really did enjoy. And it was also a pretty long race, though. Some of it was, I think it was like 3.5, maybe 4.5-ish minutes. So some of the events are pretty long. Then the ones you have to drive, like the overhead view of the RC car, those are like a minute to a minute and 30. So some of the events are kind of long, but also on top of it, some of them kind of aren't. So do keep in mind when you guys go through the entire playlist thing here, they might end up being around, I would say, maybe 40 minutes for the whole playlist, if that, if you go through it kind of quick. And also on top of that, you'll also have one of these stunt races. These are okay. To be real, though, these are the kind of events I do similar to the rival ones where I do it once and I would literally never touch it again unless it shows up in a summit. As to be real, I just don't find these all that fun, bro. I mean, I don't know. I just don't find these all that entertaining. And the funny part is, I feel like a lot of players might end up being in a similar boat. As once you do these, it's kind of, I don't know, man. It's just like, do I really want to do more stunt races? I mean, we have 11 rivals with a similar setup to this, except it's not an actual race or whatever, or like a small course, but it kind of is. So yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just not the biggest fan of those, if I'm being 100% real there. I don't know. I feel like they could do something better with those types of events. But on top of that, guys, you'll also have some road races as well in this entire place, which were pretty fun to, race the RC cars along the roads and all that. And one thing I gotta say, I would definitely recommend putting the RC cars in the higher overhead view. I talked about this in the first impressions video, where I found these to be way more fun in that view. I don't know, racing them kind of feels like they're a little RC car, where if you're kind of on the main view, like the third cam or whatever, like you'd normally be in a car, I don't know, dude. I don't think the camera is all that great. It kind of makes the RC cars look way too big, where this one kind of makes them look, small and entertaining to race around. And doing in this view and doing the races, I found that to be pretty dang fun. But overall, though, I would probably say this playlist is good. I did like it. Again, my issue is they only release one of these every few months, so once you do the playlist in 35 to 40 minutes, you're kind of just looking for something else to do. That's been my issue with basically every update this game has had almost since launch. Like, they give you the entire playlist every month, or, every 2 months, I should say, and you jump in there, and that's kind of it. One of the issues I gotta admit, guys, with the entire design they're putting out these updates, which is obviously the live service model, I understand what they're trying to do, bring players back into it, but the issue is when they release these things, like, for example, this playlist, you jump in there because that's the only new thing to do after all of that time. You do it, and after 45 minutes to an hour, you're wondering what there is to do next. So the only other option is you could go back into Track Forge, which I would say players might be Track Forged out at this point, or you could go do Grand Racing again, which I would say most players are probably tired of only having one PvP event, 3 years into the game. So this is something I kind of thought about as, they're trying to make everyone kind of come back to the game. But in a way, though, it's making everyone flock into that one new mode or that new playlist, basically destroying it because that's the only new thing in the game that they add. So, yeah, the live service model clearly isn't working that great in most games, I would say. And, yeah, we could kind of see that a lot more now. And the other part of this, though, is simply down to the fact that they are releasing the content, obviously, every 4 months, which is the main model they are using, but they're kind of breaking up that said update into basically halfway through that said season. So they're kind of giving you crumbs of the update every single time that you get it. So, of course, players are basically going to play the smaller playlist or whatever that comes out, or the playlist every time that comes out, and be done with it within an hour, and then wondering what there is to do afterwards, because there simply isn't anything else tied to the playlist, guys. Like, one thing I don't get is, we have been talking about this for a minute now. I'm fully convinced we will never get it. Obviously, we'll have Forza Horizon 6 before this game even gets something like this, which is insane. So, myself and a lot of players will probably move on by then. But this playlist was pretty dope, man. So why is there not a playlist for PvP for just a playlist? Like, I don't understand how this is not a thing, guys. I have to be honest there. How is it not a thing? Like, how do we not have just like this playlist, for example, the newest one that came out with the RC stuff? How is this not in a PvP thing? Like, I would love to do that little RC thing with other players, but that'd be so fun, or doing some of the RC races. Instead, it's mixed into a grand race every hour or two. Like, bro, man, I don't understand it, and I think the way they're doing this is honestly not working. And it just blows my mind, dude. I don't know. I've been thinking about this a little bit. It's kind of one of the reasons why I don't play Motorfest as much. And, a lot of these live service games just seem to have a similar design flaw to them, where you wait all that time, they give you a piece of the update, and then later on they give you another piece of it. In their minds, they're thinking, oh, well, people will come back and play this. Or, we're constantly giving you the illusion of, oh, you're always getting content. You know what I'm saying? You're always getting content. So it's like, oh, well, we give you that every few months. It's kind of making you give you the illusion that you always have something to do. But in reality, though, it's also making it so you have basically nothing to do, because they're giving you less of the content. Players basically play that one piece of content way too much because there is nothing else. So they finish it, or they get bored quicker, and then they move on. And when you get bored quicker, there's not much in this game to move on to, which I kind of think is a big issue. Guys, I could keep yapping about this overall. I would say this playlist, again, it's pretty solid, bro. Is it worth 10 bucks? I would say $10, you could probably have a lot of fun with it, but for $30 in the pass, yeah, no, definitely not. If you're buying the pass for this, that's honestly a ripoff in my opinion. I don't think that's worth it at all, but $10 for this, you could probably have some fun with the RC cars in the playlist. Sure, I'd rather spend $10 on this than a bundle in test drive, so I can admit that. I'd rather spend $10 on this than whatever test drive is doing. For sure on that one. But as I did say before, though, if you're looking forward to the Rivals, I will say don't, because the Rivals were honestly the biggest disappointment for me in this entire playlist, as that was honestly a big L. Like, I don't know why they did the stunt events again, dude. I don't get that at all. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. I could keep yapping on about this, but to be real, I'm kind of Motorfest out. I've talked about a lot of the issues for years on end, a lot of the things that could help it. And I know I'm past it all. You know what I'm saying? But let me know what y'all think. And, yeah, RC cars.